Hey, it's Biddy Penny, and I am going to make 3 cards today with my Gothic Halloween card kit. So these card kits are for sale in my Etsy shop, and this is what they originally had in them. And then I was kind of wanting to play with this last night, and I realized I really should add more because I want to play with some wallpaper from Tim Holtz. So I added 3 more images to the pack. So I added this, and I added 2 pieces of Tim Holtz wallpaper, and then I made these ephemera pieces and I added them as well. So this is now what's included in the Gothic kit. So now I'm ready to play. I just started making the kits, and definitely, it's a learning process, and I'm looking just to see if I can add more. How much I can give you and keep it under $10 is the goal. All right, so I'm going to do some fussy cutting, and I just really thought this skull was cool with the top hat and that it matched like the elegance of that scroll work. So I'm just playing around here, and like I said before, this Tim Holtz wallpaper is what really made me realize I needed to add more. I wanted more to play with. So it's funny because these images are not typically something that I would go for. I don't really usually do spooky Halloween or dark Halloween. I usually do something light like Doodlebug. So I'm surprising myself here, but I had so much fun playing with all these elements. So hopefully that'll come through in my 3 creations today. So I'm using every piece of this image. I'm going around and roughly, cutting these on purpose. I wanted to see how I could incorporate it into my design and use every bit of the image, but in a different way than just leaving the square on my card. So pretty instantly I decided I could make a frame behind here. And so that's what I went for in my card design. Now I did decide that I wanted all of this on this piece of paper, and I liked this flower with this other piece. So you won't get any paper like the one on the left there that only has a little bit of design. I cut the paper so that you would get plenty of design, and my leftovers would be like that, just so you know. So I'm just taped this down, and I'm going to pop up my little skull here. And then after I put my foam down, I decided to do some ink blending, but it's all good because I hadn't taken the little sticky back off. So no harm, no foul. All right, and then I'm deciding which piece of little ephemera I want to use, and I think it's the flower, and I decided to ink blend that as well. So I'm just going to bring in some bright pink, which matches the glitter on that paper, that background paper. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this flower in half and put a little on each side. So, if you only have one flower, it's cool. You can still, use it in different ways. You don't have to leave it as one whole flower if you don't want to. So for this card, I stuck with only using what's in my kit, but these kits are designed to be like a jumping off point for you, right? Where you bring in things from your stash to add to the kits and just have fun. I also make these kits kind of small because sometimes you just get a huge kit and you never end up using all of it. So that's why I made them small and affordable. So I'm using a little bit of Nouveau glitter here and just shining this up And that was my card front. Now I need to do the inside. The inside I kept really simple. I just did a little bit of ink blending. I am probably going to go back and add a piece of ephemera for the inside of this. I just didn't do it initially. So I have another shop announcement, which is I have been working on printables and I'm so excited. I have some just about ready to release. And one of the things I'm going to do is sometimes I'm going to release printable add-ons for my kits. So like for this kit, for example, I have a printable add-on ready to go. And so it's a digital that you print at home, and you just purchase the file through Etsy and download it and print it to your heart's desire. So I'm so excited about that. I really think that's going to be a fun addition to my shop and a fun addition to these kits. So be on the lookout for that. And now this card is done, and I love it. Card number 2. This one I brought in a stencil, and I was inspired with the blue from the wallpaper. Now it's extremely subtle, it's like a blue-gray. But I brought in some Distress Oxide, and I decided, since most of this craft paper didn't have a design on it, that this would be a great way to fill it in with a stencil. And I love the outcome of that. So here I'm going to do more fussy cutting, and I'm going to use most of this image again. So I'm going to use the crow and I'm going to use the bat. So, I'm maximizing everything that these little journaling cards bring to the kit. In my 3 designs today, I did not use any stamps. Now you certainly could. You could use a sentiment, a happy Halloween, or creep it real, whatever you want. Just whatever floats your boat. Here is a piece of a book page. This is from my junk journal stash. When I gut a book for the cover, I never throw the insides away because I use them all the time for all different kinds of things. So here, this crow reminded me of Edgar Allan Poe. And so that's what sparked the idea to bring in the book page. And I'm so glad I did. I love the texture that it adds. So a lot of times for my distressing, I actually like to use Lawn Fawn's dough dye ink. So that's the color that I'm using here. That is like my favorite brown color of all the ink companies. So I'm trying to decide. I picked this little thing. I don't really know what it is. It's a little creepy, that's for sure. But I'm going to pop that up at the top. And I decided to bring in my tiny attacher from Tim Holtz. And I give that a couple of staples. Then I will adhere my bird and bat. I really like the way this card turned out. Using a kit like this stretches the imagination, I feel like, and I love it. So I use the tiny attacher again, and I decide to add a staple to each corner. You could staple it directly to the card, but I don't ever like the back sides of my staples showing through on my cards. I don't mind my junk journals, but I don't like it on my cards. So I do it before I adhere down the card front. And I just love the way this turned out. Okay, so I keep bringing in white paper because maybe that's what you have abundance of in your stash, and I'm trying to show you ideas of what you can do for the insides of your cards with just a white piece of paper. and maybe a couple of elements from the kit. So I've got dough back in the mix here, ink blending. And I have this little scrap still, which is actually a pretty big scrap, of the wallpaper. And I decide I'm going to use that along with a piece of ephemera. And I use the stapler again. I thought this bat was kind of sprawled out like, you know, a science experiment or something. So the stapler seemed to match the image in my mind. And now that card is done. So I'm 2 down. Third card, here we go. This one was so much fun. All right, so what I know is that I want to do a card with lots of layers. The first thing I do is distress the edges. Now you don't have to have a special tool for this. You can certainly use scissors, and I almost always get the same result. It's just I have that tool, so why not use it? All right, so when I cut the bases for the kits, I cut them at 4 by 5.5. So at this point I had cut it down to 4 by 5.25, just so you know. Okay, so I bring in some lace from my stash, and then I have this tin of scrap fabric that just sits on my desk. And I'm going to pull in some more fabric for my layers. Like, I'm going to town on this one, guys. And again, I just really love it. I love the outcome. So I am just kind of figuring out where I want my layers and what I want them to be at this point. I like distressing the fabric, especially for a card like this. So that's what I'm doing here. And this was really fun. So this is just a piece of cheesecloth, and I tied it into a bow, and I'm going to have to remember this. I didn't end up using this on my card. If I had left it white, I probably would have, because I liked the white with the white lace. But I was playing around and experimenting, which you'll see in just a second. I ended up dyeing it like a distressed photo color with a spray, and I didn't like it as much. So I ended up leaving it out of the final equation. And I like that gargoyle peeking over, but I end up using a moth instead. That's one thing I would probably change. It's funny, you go back to edit a video and you're like, oh, actually I like the card the other way. Oh well, maybe next time. Oh goodness. So I left a lot of this in here so you could just see how I play and arrange, and things change and morph. And I took that to my sewing machine and I did a simple stitch around it. And then for this, I'm going to pop it up with foam tape. But before I stick it down, I decide I want to take black ink around the edges and distress it even more. And so that's what I'm doing here. I really wanted it to stand out, and with all the layers I have going on, I felt this would help. Still playing with that bow. And here's where I bring in this spray. So you could do this with like any kind of spray that you might have, or if you just have a small like travel size spray bottle, put a re-inker in there and a little bit of water and use that. You don't have to buy something. So I'm still playing around here. Oh, I'm cleaning. That's so good. I don't always do that, and then I get things so messy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this down because I'm still undecided and I'm trying to let that bow dry a little bit. And then I make this ruffle with scrapped fabric. I make my own ruffles for my junk journals and stuff. So I decided to bring in some of that with some fabric fix. And I love it. I'm so glad I added that. It was a great final touch. So I have the outside of my card pretty much done. I just need to adhere it down to a base, which I chose a white one. Again, I've got white lace, so I'm trying to keep this stuff, somewhat cohesive. And I've got a white base again for the inside of my card. And what do you know, I'm ink blending. And I'm going to bring in some more dough ink and ink that up. I'm going to do a little blend on the top and the bottom. And then I had some scrap paper that I decided to use. And this gargoyle just has to go on my card. And then I had the funny idea of attaching him with my tiny attacher right on the nose. So he has a nose ring. And I don't know, it made me giggle. Maybe it'll make you giggle too. So I had so much fun making these. I really hope you'll hop over and check out the card kits that I'm offering. I think I have 3 of these left at the time of filming this. And once they're sold out and they're gone, they're gone. I'm not making any more of these. I'll be moving on to different kits. I'm going to have some cool coloring kits coming up and Christmas and all kinds. So just keep an eye out. I'm Biddy Penny on YouTube and I'm Biddy Penny on Etsy. And I have Instagram as well. All right, so here are the final results. And I love it. That one does need something, in my opinion, on the inside. This is definitely a close second. I really like the way this card turned out. But I think this one's my favorite. I just love all the layers. There's so much interest there. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so happy to have you here, spending your time with me. I hope you feel inspired. This is how the kit comes packaged. And please like and subscribe. Have a great day.